Every great transformation begins in the mind. Before any dream turns into reality, it starts as a thought, an inner vision of who you want to be and what kind of life you want to live. The truth is, you don't become successful and then start thinking like a successful person. You start thinking like one first, and then success follows. Think like the person you want to become is about mastering that inner shift. It's about training your mind to think, act, and respond like the version of you that already has the life you desire. Whether it's confidence, discipline, peace, or financial freedom, everything begins with how you think about yourself and your possibilities. This book will help you uncover the power of mindset, the invisible force that shapes your habits, your choices, and ultimately your destiny. Through simple lessons, reflective questions, and practical strategies, you'll learn how to reprogram your thoughts, silence self-doubt, and align your daily actions with your highest potential. Because becoming the person you want to be doesn't happen someday in the future. It starts now, the moment you begin to think like them. Chapter 1. Stop waiting to feel ready. You'll never feel ready. Say it out loud. You'll never feel ready. That's not negativity. That's truth. Readiness is a myth the mind invents to protect you from change. It's the perfect excuse for staying comfortable while pretending to prepare. You've told yourself you'll start when you feel ready, when you have more confidence, more clarity, more time. But readiness never comes. The calendar doesn't deliver it. The universe doesn't announce it. You create readiness through action, not before it. The world is full of people waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel brave, waiting to feel sure. They wait their entire lives. They rehearse the same dream every night and die never having lived it once. Here's the brutal truth. Readiness doesn't precede action, it follows it. Action creates clarity. Action builds momentum. Action teaches the body and mind to trust themselves again. You don't start when you know. You start, and then you learn. That's how every breakthrough has ever happened. Think about the first time you drove a car. You didn't feel ready. Your hands were sweating, your heartbeat was louder than the engine. But you drove anyway. You learned through motion. You adjusted through feedback. And after enough repetition, your nervous system adapted. Now you drive without thinking. That's how readiness is built, through exposure and engagement, not through overthinking. The same applies to your business idea, your health goals, your creative dream, your financial breakthrough. You are trying to think your way into courage. But courage only appears in motion. You've been taught to wait for the right time. There is no right time. There is only now and too late. The right time is a polite phrase for fear disguised as logic. You call it being strategic. You call it getting your ducks in a row. But you're just afraid to fail publicly. Let's call it what it is. Fear doesn't go away when you plan. Fear only loses power when you move. Every day you hesitate, you strengthen the identity of a person who doesn't follow through. And identity is destiny. You become what you repeatedly tolerate. You tolerate hesitation, you become hesitant. You tolerate delay, you become delayed. You tolerate fear, you become fearful. And then one day you'll look around and realize that your someday has expired. Here's what most people never understand. Readiness is not an emotional state, it's a skill. You train it by starting before you feel confident. You practice it by showing up when it's inconvenient. You master it by refusing to negotiate with hesitation. Every time you act before you feel ready, you're teaching your nervous system a new pattern. I move even when uncertain. That's the difference between ordinary people and high performers. High performers move first and trust themselves to figure it out later. They don't need all the answers. They trust their ability to adapt. You're not lacking information. You're drowning in it. You don't need another podcast, another plan, another list of morning routines. You need momentum, because clarity comes from doing, not thinking. Let's get practical. Right now, there's something in your life you keep postponing. You already know what it is. The business you've been researching, the book you've been outlining for years, the gym membership you bought and stopped using. Stop pretending you need more readiness. What you need is a first step. Start small, but start now. Record one video, make one call, send one email. Take one imperfect action toward the direction you claim to want. Perfection is the enemy of readiness. You think if it's not perfect, it's not worth starting. But perfectionism is just fear with better branding. Real progress begins when you allow yourself to start messy, to fail forward, to iterate in public. Every imperfect action builds evidence that you're the kind of person who acts. That's how identity shifts. You become someone who moves, someone who builds, someone who follows through, especially when uncomfortable. When you delay action, your mind creates imaginary obstacles. It inflates the risk and shrinks your capability. But the second you start, those walls collapse. The mind wants certainty, but growth lives in uncertainty. You can't expand and stay safe at the same time. Your nervous system will resist at first. It will scream for comfort. That's normal. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. It's to move with it. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means this matters. When your heart races, that's not danger, it's data. It's your system preparing to meet a new level of demand. Train yourself to interpret fear as energy. The same physiological reaction that feels like anxiety also feels like excitement. It's just labeled differently in your mind. Reframe it. When you feel afraid, say, "This is energy for action." Then act immediately. Because hesitation converts energy into anxiety. Action converts energy into confidence. Here's what happens when you start moving. Momentum begins to replace motivation. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Momentum is mechanical. It builds itself. Once you take a few consistent steps, your mind starts trusting you again. You realize you don't need to feel like it. You just need to show up. Every day you follow through, you reinforce the identity of a finisher. The more you act, the more natural it becomes. That's the real readiness you've been waiting for. The confidence earned through motion. You want clarity? Act. You want confidence? Act. You want momentum? Act. Everything you think you need to feel ready for will only show up after you start. So here's your challenge. Pick one thing. The thing that's been sitting in your someday folder. Don't overthink it. Don't research another angle. Take a single visible action within the next 24 hours. Post it, publish it, or commit publicly. Make it real. Because once it's real, your brain stops fantasizing and starts solving. Readiness is not found, it's built. You don't wait for the confidence to arrive. You prove to yourself that you can act without it. That's how you rewire your mind for progress. That's how you stop living as a spectator of your own potential. You'll never feel ready, and that's your greatest advantage. Because while everyone else waits for perfect conditions, you'll already be in motion. Action creates opportunity. Opportunity creates belief. Belief creates identity. And identity creates destiny. This is the first step in becoming the person you want to become. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start before you feel prepared. Move before you feel certain. Act before you feel confident. Because readiness isn't what gets you started. It's what you earn for starting. Chapter 2. Identity is the real strategy. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. That's the truth most people never confront. They set goals, make plans, write affirmations, but their internal identity hasn't changed. They're trying to build a new life while clinging to the old version of themselves. And that never works. You can't outperform the person you still believe you are. You can't outwork your self-image. Your results will always return to the level of your identity. That's why change feels temporary. You push for a while, you force discipline for a few weeks, you get a spark of motivation, but then the old identity pulls you back down like gravity, because you never changed who you believed yourself to be. Identity is the foundation. It's not what you do. It's who you think you are while you do it. Every habit you repeat is a vote, a signal to your subconscious mind that says, "This is who I am." When you skip the gym, that's a vote for "I'm someone who quits." When you show up anyway, that's a vote for "I'm someone who honors commitments." Every small action reinforces an identity. The problem is, most people never cast their votes consciously. They act out of habit. They behave out of old programming. They live according to outdated beliefs that no longer match the person they say they want to become. And then they wonder why they can't change. You don't fix that by willpower. You fix it by identity alignment. Let's make this simple. If you want to change your behavior, stop focusing on what you do. Start focusing on who you are while you do it. You can't keep saying, "I'm bad with money," and expect to build wealth. You can't keep saying, "I'm not a morning person," and expect to master discipline. You can't keep saying, "I'm trying to get motivated," and expect consistency. Those phrases aren't harmless. They're instructions to your subconscious. Your brain listens. Your nervous system obeys. "I am" is the most powerful command you'll ever speak, so you must use it deliberately. Here's the transformation formula. Identity to behavior to results. Most people try to flip that. They chase results first, thinking success will make them feel like a new person. It never does. They say, "When I lose the weight, I'll feel confident. When I make the money, I'll feel successful. When I achieve the goal, I'll finally believe in myself." But confidence doesn't follow results. Confidence follows identity congruence. You must believe it first. You must claim the identity before the evidence exists. That's not delusion. It's direction. It tells your mind where to aim. Try this. Instead of saying, "I want to be more disciplined," say, "I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself." Instead of saying, "I want to start a business," say, "I am the kind of person who creates value and takes ownership." Instead of saying, "I'm trying to be consistent," say, "I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start." You see the difference? The first version is wishful thinking. The second version is identity alignment. Your brain starts looking for behaviors to support that identity. It begins to collect evidence to prove it true. And that's the key. You don't fake it until you make it. You embody it until it's normal. Let's talk about the psychology behind this. Your subconscious mind is a pattern recognition machine. It wants consistency between what you believe and how you behave. When there's a mismatch, when you say you want success but think like someone stuck, it creates internal tension. That tension is called cognitive dissonance, and your mind will always resolve it by returning to your strongest identity. So if deep down you still see yourself as inconsistent, lazy, or not good enough, you'll subconsciously sabotage anything that contradicts that. That's why people relapse. That's why they fall back into old habits. It's not because they're weak. It's because their old identity is still stronger than their new one. You can't just delete an identity. You have to replace it. Here's how to do it. Step 1. Declare your new identity. Write it down. Speak it out loud. I am the kind of person who is your new operating system. It's the script your life will follow. Step 2. Align your environment. Your surroundings either reinforce your old identity or your new one. If you want to be a reader, surround yourself with books, not distractions. If you want to be fit, fill your kitchen with fuel, not excuses. Identity is not only mental, it's environmental. Step 3. Act small, but act daily. You don't need massive overnight change. You just need consistent proof. Each small behavior is a vote for the new you. Each repetition strengthens the pattern. Soon, it's no longer effort, it's who you are. Example: a person who struggles with discipline keeps saying, "I need to be more disciplined." They try harder, make plans, force routines, but they still see themselves as inconsistent. Now imagine they shift identity. I am the kind of person who doesn't negotiate with discipline. Suddenly, skipping the task feels wrong, not neutral. Their new identity doesn't allow it. The behavior that once felt optional now feels unnatural. That's the power of identity. It rewrites the rules of what's acceptable to you. You don't need to push as hard when your self-image pulls you forward. Understand this. Your subconscious doesn't care who you think you want to be. It only cares who you act like consistently. So your goal is to build consistency around your new identity until your actions and beliefs are the same thing. That's how transformation sticks. That's why the most successful people don't try to stay disciplined. They are disciplined. It's identity, not effort. They don't chase wealth. They are wealth creators. They don't fight laziness. They simply don't identify as lazy. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. If you truly want to transform your life, stop saying, "How can I get myself to do this?" and start asking, "Who would I have to be for this to be natural?" Because once your identity matches your vision, resistance disappears. You no longer need constant motivation. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You simply act in alignment. You're not pretending anymore. You've become it. So here's the practice. Every morning, finish this sentence. I am the kind of person who. Then live one decision that proves it. I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. Finish the workout, finish the project, finish the thought before distraction wins. Every act of integrity strengthens the new identity, and every broken promise weakens it. That's why self-trust is the foundation of transformation, because when you believe yourself, everything else becomes possible. This is the deeper truth of success. Strategy without identity is sabotage. You can follow every productivity system, every money method, every motivational speech, but if your self-concept doesn't evolve, none of it sticks. Identity is the real strategy. It's the root system beneath every visible result. Stop trying to change your habits while keeping your old self alive. Stop trying to act successful while identifying as someone who struggles. You don't need to fight your old patterns. You need to outgrow them. Say it to yourself right now. I am becoming the kind of person who no longer negotiates with my potential. That's not wishful thinking. That's your new reality being installed. Because in this book, you're not learning to chase success. You're learning to become the kind of person who naturally creates it. And that begins here, where identity becomes your new strategy. Chapter 3. Stop proving and start becoming. The need to prove comes from doubt. That's where it starts. When you doubt yourself, you chase validation. You need others to confirm your worth, to applaud your effort, to notice your progress. You confuse attention with achievement. But the truth is this: when you are certain of who you are and where you're going, you no longer need to prove anything. You just become it. You stop talking about what you're going to do, and you start doing it. You stop explaining your intentions, and you start embodying your values. You stop begging the world to see your potential, and you start realizing it quietly, brick by brick, in real time. That's how transformation happens, not through proving, but through becoming. You see, proving yourself is a reaction. Becoming yourself is creation. When you're trying to prove, your energy points outward. You're performing for approval. You're adjusting to fit expectations. You're chasing acknowledgement from people who are usually too busy worrying about themselves to even notice. When you're becoming, your energy points inward. You're aligned with your own standard. You're building from the inside out. You're not trying to convince anyone. You're simply living in such a way that truth becomes obvious. The person who's trying to prove they're confident is loud, boastful, and defensive. The person who is confident doesn't say a word. They just move like it. The person who's trying to prove they're successful flaunts it. The person who is successful doesn't need to. They're too busy building what's next. The loudest in the room are rarely the most certain. True power is silent. True confidence doesn't demand recognition. It commands it through consistency. When you constantly need to prove yourself, you exhaust your energy on optics instead of outcomes. You spend your time trying to look right instead of being right. It's the illusion of progress, working hard to be seen working hard. But nothing inside you changes. You're chasing approval, not growth. You're feeding the ego, not the evolution. Here's the problem. Validation is a drug. It gives you a quick high, but it never lasts. You get one hit, and then you need another. More likes, more praise, more acknowledgement. And soon, you're not building for yourself. You're performing for an audience that doesn't even care. Every time you chase validation, you teach your brain that your worth depends on someone else's reaction. You hand over control of your self-esteem, and the moment they stop clapping, you stop believing in yourself. That's not power. That's slavery in disguise. So how do you stop proving? You stop seeking external validation and start practicing internal confirmation. That means you no longer ask, "Do they see my progress?" You ask, "Did I keep my promise to myself?" It means you no longer need others to applaud your growth. You track it through your own integrity. You don't wait for recognition. You give yourself respect by showing up daily. You stop performing for applause and start performing for alignment. Because once you're aligned, you move differently. You stop broadcasting your goals and start protecting your energy. You stop talking about what's next and start working in silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength under control. Let's be honest. Proving yourself is exhausting. You over-explain. You justify every decision. You need to be understood, liked, approved of. But that's not living. That's performing. The moment you stop trying to be understood, you free yourself to become undeniable. People don't need to understand your path. They don't need to approve of your pace. They don't even need to believe in your vision. You just need to become so consistent, so focused, so certain that your results do the talking for you. When you stop needing to prove yourself, your life gets quieter. But in that quiet, your power grows louder. Here's the truth about people who constantly chase validation. They don't trust themselves. They don't believe their own inner voice, so they borrow confidence from the crowd. But the crowd is inconsistent. One day, they cheer you. The next day, they doubt you. If your confidence depends on them, your stability dies with them. That's why you must build internal proof, through daily evidence that you can trust your word, your discipline, your instincts. Confidence is earned evidence of self-trust. You can't talk yourself into it. You must prove it to yourself through action, not performance. Here's a practice. Stop telling people your plans. Start showing them your results. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, your brain gets a dopamine hit, as if you've already done it. You feel good, but nothing has changed. Protect your energy. Stop leaking your ambition in conversations that don't move you forward. Instead, put your head down. Work, build, evolve. Let the world discover what you've been doing when they see the results. Success doesn't need marketing, it needs mastery. The people who are truly moving toward greatness don't announce it. They're too busy becoming it. They understand that proving is ego-based, but becoming is identity-based. The ego wants to be seen. The identity wants to be solid. The ego screams, "Look at me." The identity whispers, "Watch what happens." And here's what happens. When you stop proving, you create space for transformation. Because proving keeps you attached to the past, you're constantly trying to defend who you used to be. Becoming keeps you focused on the future. You're designing who you're meant to be. That's a completely different energy. If you want real transformation, stop arguing with people who doubt you. Let them. They're supposed to doubt you. It's not their vision. It's yours. The more you argue, the more you reveal your own insecurity. The more you defend yourself, the more you affirm that you still need permission. You don't. You are not here to convince. You are here to evolve. Evolution is quiet. It's internal. It doesn't require applause or announcement. The butterfly doesn't send press releases from the cocoon. It simply emerges, different, undeniable, free. So here's the challenge. For the next 30 days, stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to be understood. Stop performing for praise. Instead, build internal proof. Do the work quietly. Keep your promises. Watch your confidence compound. When someone doubts you, don't argue. Smile. Let your results answer for you. When someone questions your path, don't explain. Keep walking. When you feel the urge to post your progress for validation, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this to express or to prove? If it's to prove, stay silent. Silence builds power. Understand this. Proving keeps you trapped in the story of who you were. Becoming frees you to live the story of who you're meant to be. Every minute spent defending your past is a minute stolen from creating your future. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win with action. You don't need to convince them. You need to convict yourself in your purpose. You don't need validation. You need vision. You are not here to prove. You are here to become. When you stop chasing validation, you gain vision. When you stop performing for approval, you gain peace. When you stop trying to be noticed, you start becoming someone who can't be ignored. And that's the shift this book is teaching you. To stop chasing the appearance of success and start embodying the mindset, the discipline, and the stillness that make it inevitable. Your proof is in your becoming, and that becoming starts now. Chapter 4. The Energy of Alignment. You can't think success and live in chaos. That's the hard truth most people never face. They want focus, but their environment is noisy. They want growth, but their habits are self-destructive. They want peace, but they feed on distraction. They say they want to change, but everything around them, every routine, every relationship, every choice belongs to the old version of them, and that's why they stay stuck. Change isn't about doing more. It's about aligning who you are, what you do, and where you spend your energy, so everything moves in the same direction. That's the energy of alignment. When your habits, your emotions, and your environment all point toward the same vision, progress stops feeling like resistance. It starts feeling like flow. But when those things conflict, every day becomes a battle. You take one step forward, 2 steps back. You set goals that your lifestyle quietly cancels. You can't outwork misalignment. You can't hustle your way through contradiction. You can't think abundance while living in scarcity. You can't think focus while living in clutter. You can't think discipline while surrounding yourself with chaos. It's not a motivation issue. It's an alignment issue. Here's what alignment really means. It means that your thoughts, behaviors, and surroundings all agree with the identity you're building. It means your daily habits confirm your vision instead of contradicting it. It means your emotional energy, what you tolerate, who you listen to, what you give attention to, supports your progress instead of draining it. When everything is aligned, you stop fighting yourself. You stop negotiating between your goals and your comfort. You stop saying, "I want to be successful," while living in ways that announce the opposite. Let's start with the first layer of alignment, your habits. Your habits are the foundation of your future. They are the micro decisions that shape who you're becoming. Every action either builds your future or buries it. If you say you want clarity but wake up scrolling, you're out of alignment. If you say you want freedom but waste your time numbing yourself, you're out of alignment. If you say you want to grow but keep repeating the same comfort patterns, you're not serious, you're self-sabotaging. Habits aren't random. They're a reflection of your identity. When your habits change, your identity changes. When your identity changes, your life changes. So stop pretending you're working on yourself while maintaining the same unproductive rituals. You can't meditate on abundance for 10 minutes and then live in disorganization for the other 23 hours. Your actions must match your ambitions. The second layer of alignment is your emotional state. Your emotions are energy in motion. They direct your focus, your decisions, your stamina. When you live in emotional chaos, reactive, scattered, anxious, you drain the energy you need to create change. Discipline is not just physical, it's emotional. You can't master your time if you don't master your emotions. You can't stay consistent if every setback destroys your mood. Emotional alignment means learning to regulate yourself, to stay grounded, calm, and clear, even when life gets noisy. Because your emotional energy sets the tone for everything else. You can't make clear decisions in a clouded state. You can't attract opportunities when you radiate chaos. You can't step into the identity of a calm, confident leader while operating like a reactive amateur. Then comes the third layer, your environment. Look around you. Every single thing in your environment is shaping you, silently, constantly, powerfully. Your surroundings are not neutral. They're either reinforcing your growth or your regression. The clutter on your desk, the noise in your social media feed, the people you allow in your space, they're all sending messages to your subconscious about what matters and what doesn't. If your environment doesn't match your vision, your mind will never feel safe stepping into it. You can't build focus in a room that screams distraction. You can't build peace in a relationship that breeds tension. You can't build power in an environment that rewards weakness. Your environment must remind you of where you're going, not where you've been. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. You have to be brutally honest about what's actually serving your next level and what's quietly stealing from it. Ask yourself, does this habit align with the person I'm becoming? Does this relationship align with my peace? Does this environment align with my growth? Does this daily routine align with the future I keep saying I want? If the answer is no, then it's time to let go. Because misalignment is expensive. It costs energy. It costs time. It costs self-respect. You're not just losing productivity. You're losing integrity with yourself. Here's what alignment looks like in real life. It's the entrepreneur who stops complaining about not having time and reorganizes their day around their highest priorities. It's the person who says they want confidence and then cleans their environment, starts dressing with pride, and speaks with clarity. It's the person who wants peace and finally walks away from people who only bring chaos. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's consistent, quiet, and intentional. That's alignment. When your energy is aligned, momentum becomes natural. You don't need to constantly push yourself. You're being pulled forward by purpose. You're no longer fighting against friction because everything you do supports everything else. Your mindset supports your behavior. Your behavior supports your emotions. Your emotions support your focus. And your environment supports all of it. That's when life starts to feel light. Not because it's easy, but because it's coherent. But understand this. Alignment is not a one-time event. It's a daily audit. You don't get aligned and stay that way automatically. Life constantly tests your focus, your boundaries, your energy. That's why you must make alignment a practice. Each day, before you make a decision, ask, does this align with the person I'm becoming? And then, this is crucial, act accordingly. Because knowing what's aligned, but ignoring it, is the same as staying stuck on purpose. Stop chasing success while living in contradiction. Stop asking for clarity while maintaining confusion. Stop claiming you want more while surrounding yourself with less. If it doesn't match your future, it doesn't belong in your present. That's how you protect your energy. That's how you multiply your progress. Alignment turns every small effort into exponential growth. When your habits, your emotions, and your environment move in one direction, momentum becomes automatic. You don't need to force success. You attract it through congruence. You are not stuck. You're just scattered. Pull yourself into alignment. Simplify. Focus. Audit everything. Because the moment your life stops contradicting your vision, everything starts accelerating. This is the energy of alignment, the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And that's the next step of transformation. To stop chasing success and start living in a way that matches it. Because alignment isn't just energy, it's evidence that you've already started becoming the person you were meant to be. Chapter 5. Detach from the outcome. The outcome is not the prize. The outcome is the receipt. You don't get what you chase, you get what you earn. And what you earn is always a reflection of your process. This is where most people lose the game. They obsess over the end result. They cling to goals like lifelines. They crave proof before progress. But the more you obsess over the finish line, the slower you move toward it. You can't run freely while staring at the trophy. You trip over your own feet. You sabotage your own flow. Detachment is not apathy. Detachment is power. It's the ability to stay fully committed to the work without being emotionally enslaved by the result. When you detach from the outcome, You stop leaking energy into things you can't control. You stop judging yourself by timelines. You stop chasing validation through results. You stop needing external confirmation that you're on the right track. You build confidence from the doing, not the destination. That's how true professionals think. That's how masters move. The amateurs chase feelings. The masters chase alignment. The amateur says, "I'll feel proud when I win." The master says, "I'm proud because I showed up." The amateur is addicted to the outcome. The master is addicted to the process. You have to decide who you want to be. Because the truth is this: if your emotions depend on the outcome, you will never have peace. Every delay will destroy your confidence. Every setback will feel like failure. Every slow result will trigger doubt. You'll burn out not from the work, but from the worry. Detachment gives you your power back. It pulls your focus from when will it happen to what must I do right now. And that shift changes everything. Because when you stop needing a specific result, you stop forcing things. You stop acting out of desperation. You start moving with conviction. You stop saying, "I need this to work," and you start saying, "I'll keep working until it does." That's the difference between the emotional beginner and the grounded achiever. One needs proof. The other becomes proof. Here's the paradox of progress. The more you chase results, the more you repel them. The more you relax into the process, the faster they come. When you chase, you move from scarcity. You send the signal that you don't already have what you need. When you work in alignment, you move from abundance. You act as if success is inevitable, because in your identity, it already is. That energy difference is massive. You can feel it in people. The person who's desperate for approval carries tension. The person who's secure in their process radiates certainty, and certainty attracts. That's why you hear the phrase, "I don't chase, I attract." It's not spiritual fluff. It's psychology. When you're chasing, your actions scream, "I'm not enough yet." When you're aligned, your actions whisper, "I'm becoming it already." Success moves toward calm confidence. It moves toward people who are grounded in their direction. You attract what you're ready for. And readiness is not about wanting. It's about becoming. Fall in love with the process, because the process is where growth lives. You don't become disciplined by hitting one goal. You become disciplined by showing up when nobody's watching. You don't become confident by reaching one milestone. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself every day. Every rep, every habit, every small act of consistency is building the foundation for everything you want. That's what mastery feels like. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's boring to the impatient. But it's how greatness is built. You stop chasing dopamine. You start chasing depth. You stop asking, "When will I get there?" and start saying, "How can I get better right here?" That's detachment. Let's be clear. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care so deeply about your growth that you refuse to tie your worth to temporary results. You still aim high. You still plan. You still measure. But your joy, your peace, your identity, they're not for sale anymore, because you're not playing the short game. You're building something permanent. That's why the process matters more than the prize. Because the prize can be lost. The process can't. Once you've become the kind of person who follows through, who persists, who stays calm in uncertainty, no one can take that from you. So here's how you practice detachment in real life. Number 1, redirect your focus to inputs, not outcomes. Don't ask, "How fast can I win?" Ask, What am I doing consistently to earn the win? Your habits, your energy, your structure. That's where your power lives. Number 2, measure progress by identity, not numbers. Instead of saying, I want to make X amount, say, I'm becoming the kind of person who creates that kind of value. When you shift the focus from the external to the internal, results start to take care of themselves. Number 3, let go of timelines. Goals create direction. Deadlines create urgency. But attachment creates anxiety. Move fast, but don't panic. Remind yourself daily, I'm not here to finish. I'm here to evolve. You'll know you're mastering detachment when your mood stops depending on your progress chart. You'll know you're growing when setbacks don't derail you. They refine you. You'll know you're becoming unstoppable when you stop needing validation for every small step. Because that's when you become dangerous. You've stopped playing the emotional roller coaster of, I'm winning, I'm losing. You're just playing the long game. Calm, steady, relentless. Every great athlete, every great entrepreneur, every great creator, at some point they learned this lesson. They stopped performing for applause. They stopped needing the scoreboard to validate their effort. They started doing the work because the work itself became the reward. That's when breakthroughs happen, because the moment you stop chasing outcomes, you start embodying excellence. You move differently. You think long-term. You build systems that last, and life starts meeting you at the level of your consistency, not your career. Detachment is not about giving up. It's about showing up with faith. Faith in the process. Faith in your ability. Faith that what's meant for you will meet you if you keep moving forward. The outcome will happen when it's supposed to. Your job is to become the kind of person who's ready for it when it does. Because the prize is temporary. The transformation is forever. So say it often. Say it until your mind believes it. I don't chase, I attract through who I am becoming. Detach from the outcome. Attach to your evolution, because the outcome is just evidence, the byproduct of who you've decided to be. The real win is becoming the person who no longer needs the win to prove anything. That's mastery. That's power. That's the mindset that builds everything else in this book. You are not chasing success anymore. You're aligning with it. You're no longer begging results to validate you. You're becoming the type of person who creates them naturally. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means maturity. It means peace. It means power. And when you combine detachment with discipline, something incredible happens. You stop waiting for life to reward you, and you start rewarding yourself through who you become. Chapter 6. Repetition Rewires Reality. Repetition is not boring. Repetition is reprogramming. What you do once means nothing. What you do daily becomes everything. Because repetition is how the mind learns. It's how the body adapts. It's how identity is formed. You are not your intentions. You are your patterns. Every repeated thought becomes a belief. Every repeated action becomes a habit. Every repeated habit becomes your personality. And your personality builds your reality. So if you want to change your life, stop chasing intensity and start respecting consistency. People love new information, but they hate repetition. They say they want transformation, but they get bored of the work that actually creates it. They want fireworks, not fundamentals. But the truth is, your brain doesn't care about excitement. It cares about consistency. Your subconscious learns through repetition, through exposure, through practice, through proof. Every time you repeat something, you're giving your brain a command. You're writing code. You're saying, "This is who I am now." Think about it. You weren't born confident. You became confident through repeated experiences of showing up. You weren't born anxious. You became anxious through repeated exposure to fear-based thinking. You weren't born disciplined. You trained yourself. One choice, one routine, one decision at a time. Repetition created the person you are today, and repetition will create the person you become next. Your brain is a machine built for efficiency. It automates whenever you do most. If you repeat procrastination, it becomes automatic. If you repeat excuses, they become reflexes. If you repeat discipline, it becomes instinct. This is the real secret to transformation. You rewire your life through the loops you run most often, because the brain doesn't filter for good or bad. It just obeys what's familiar. If chaos is familiar, it will seek chaos. If focus is familiar, it will seek focus. If calm is familiar, it will seek calm. You become addicted to your own repetition. So if you don't like your life, look at what you've been rehearsing. Every affirmation, every behavior, every routine, it's an instruction. You're teaching your mind what to believe. When you say, "I'm so tired," you reinforce fatigue. When you say, "I can't stay consistent," you reinforce inconsistency. When you say, "I always find a way," you reinforce resilience. Words are programs, thoughts are scripts, and the repetition of both determines your internal operating system. You can't outthink your conditioning. You have to rewrite it. That's what repetition does. It rewires the nervous system to expect new outcomes. Let's talk about the formula. Small repeated wins to identity shift to automatic success. It starts small. You make one decision today that aligns with the person you want to become. You go to the gym even when you don't feel like it. You speak up instead of staying silent. You stick to your routine instead of making excuses. That one small win tells your brain, "This is who I am now." Then you do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. After enough repetitions, the brain accepts it as truth. You're no longer trying to be disciplined, you just are. You're no longer trying to be confident, you just are. You're no longer trying to be successful, you just act like someone who is. That's the power of repetition. It builds evidence until identity takes over. And once identity takes over, success becomes automatic. That's why so many people stay stuck. They never repeat long enough to rewire. They start strong, then stop when it feels hard. They chase novelty instead of mastery. They mistake boredom for failure. But boredom is where transformation begins. Because repetition is not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's not loud. Repetition is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. It's saying no to comfort. It's saying yes to consistency. It's proving, day after day, that you mean what you say. If you want to build new habits, stop overcomplicating it. Pick one thing. Do it daily. Track it. Refuse to break the chain. That's it. You don't need a new plan. You need repetition until the plan becomes a reflex. Because your habits don't fail from lack of strategy. They fail from lack of repetition. You didn't lose motivation. You just didn't repeat long enough for the behavior to stick. If you can brush your teeth without thinking about it, you can build any habit that way. It just takes time, consistency, and repetition. Here's what you must understand. Every repetition is a vote. When you repeat laziness, you're voting for mediocrity. When you repeat excuses, you're voting for stagnation. When you repeat focus, discipline, and action, you're voting for mastery. You're casting votes for your future every single day. And the candidate that wins is the one you vote for most often. Not the one you want to win, not the one you say you support, the one you repeat. So the question isn't, what do you want? The question is, what are you repeating? Repetition rewires not just your behavior, but your perception. The more you repeat success-oriented habits, the more your brain filters reality through that lens. You start seeing opportunity where others see obstacles. You start expecting growth instead of fearing change. You start assuming success because it feels normal now. That's not luck, it's neuroplasticity. Your brain literally reshapes itself around what you do repeatedly. You've been programming your mind your entire life. You just didn't realize it. Now, you do. And that means you can choose what to program next. So here's your action plan. 1. Identify one behavior that matches your future identity. Maybe it's waking up early. Maybe it's reading daily. Maybe it's showing up to the gym. Pick one. 2. Attach meaning to it. Don't just say, I'm doing this habit. Say, this is who I am now. 3. Repeat it daily, without emotion. You don't need motivation. You need repetition. Do it on good days and bad days. 4. Track progress, not perfection. Miss a day? Don't spiral. Restart immediately. Repetition compounds even when imperfect. Because success doesn't come from doing things once. It comes from doing them until your nervous system can't imagine life without them. Here's the truth most people never want to hear. The difference between average and elite isn't talent. It's tolerance for repetition. The elite repeat what works long after everyone else gets bored. They refine, they polish, they master. They understand that excellence isn't found in intensity. It's built through iteration. Because every repetition strengthens belief. Every repetition cements identity. Every repetition rewires reality. Repetition is how you become the person you keep visualizing. It's how you turn potential into proof. It's how you move from I want to change to I already have. Say it until it sinks in. Small, repeated wins to identity shift to automatic success. That's the formula. That's the truth. That's how transformation happens. You're not trying to change your life. You're training your brain. You're rewriting code through repetition. You're building identity through evidence. Every thought, every action, every pattern is a program. So repeat what serves you, remove what doesn't. Because your repetition will either imprison you or free you. Choose wisely what you rehearse, because that's the reality you'll live in. Chapter 7. Embody the future now. Stop waiting for permission to live your future. You're not going to feel ready. You're not going to get a sign. You're not going to wake up one morning and magically become the person you've been visualizing. You have to embody that person now. That's the only way transformation happens. Because the mind doesn't change when the result arrives. The result arrives because the mind already changed. You can't wait for proof to start believing. You start believing, and that belief becomes the proof. That's the paradox of becoming. Most people live backward. They wait for life to give them permission. They wait for the money to feel wealthy. They wait for love to feel worthy. They wait for confidence to take action. They wait and they waste years waiting. You can't wait your way into a new identity. You act your way into it. You must begin to behave like the person you want to become before you see the evidence. That's not delusion. That's alignment. It's not pretending. It's preparation. The mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and experience. When you visualize something repeatedly, when you think, speak, and act in alignment with it, your brain starts wiring that as your reality. That's not magic. That's neuroplasticity. Your subconscious mind rehearses what it believes you'll experience. And when you act in alignment with your vision long enough, your nervous system starts to normalize that higher identity. That's why visualization works, but only if it's followed by embodiment. You can't just see it, you must be it. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means if your future self is confident, stop moving like you're insecure. If your future self is disciplined, stop acting like every distraction deserves your attention. If your future self is wealthy, start managing what you have with respect, structure, and intention right now. Stop saying, "When I get there, I'll start acting like that." That's backward logic. You get there because you start acting like that. Identity precedes results. Embodying the future is not about faking it. It's about training it. Every behavior you repeat tells your subconscious, "This is who we are now." If you want to feel confident, speak confidently, even when your voice shakes. If you want to feel calm, move slowly and breathe deeply, even when your mind races. If you want to feel successful, start treating your life with order, discipline, and intention, even when nobody's watching. The moment you act in alignment with your future self, your body begins to recalibrate, because the subconscious learns through repetition and emotion. When you combine both, when you repeat the behaviors of your future self and feel what it's like to already be that person, you collapse the gap between someday and now. Here's the truth. Your future doesn't start later. It starts in your next decision. It starts in how you walk, how you speak, how you carry yourself. Every word you say either reinforces your old story or affirms your new one. Every choice either confirms who you've been or declares who you're becoming. You are rehearsing your future with every moment of your present. So start rehearsing something worth becoming. Here's a hard truth. Identity is built through evidence, not wishes. If you keep saying you're changing, but your behavior never changes, your mind won't believe you. It doesn't care what you want. It believes what you do. So if you want to embody your future, you have to give your brain evidence. Show up differently. Speak differently. Decide differently. When you do, your subconscious begins to update its story. You stop being the person who wants to change and become the person who changes. That shift in self-perception is everything, because once you see yourself differently, you can never go back. But be careful. Embodiment doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean pretending you're above others. It means living with intention. It means carrying yourself with integrity. You don't need to tell the world who you're becoming. You need to show them through consistency. You embody the future through quiet repetition, not loud declarations. The real power is in silent alignment. When your actions, energy, and presence all say, "I am becoming that person," people will feel it, even before you say a word. Let's make this concrete. Imagine your future self, the version of you that already lives the life you want. How do they wake up? How do they think? How do they move through challenge? How do they treat their health, their time, their relationships? Now pick one behavior from that vision and start doing it now. Maybe your future self wakes up early. Maybe they read instead of scrolling. Maybe they speak with clarity instead of hesitation. Maybe they set boundaries instead of people-pleasing. Start doing that today, because the smallest action performed in alignment with your future self is worth more than 1,000 affirmations spoken out of alignment. Your body learns through movement. Your brain learns through repetition. That's why embodiment works better than motivation. Motivation fades. Embodiment reprograms. When you live like the person you want to become, your nervous system adapts to that reality. Soon, what once felt uncomfortable becomes natural. What once required effort becomes identity. That's the moment transformation locks in. You no longer need to try to be that person. You simply are. But this process takes courage, because at first it feels unnatural. Your old identity will resist. Your environment may not understand. You'll feel the friction between who you were and who you're becoming. That's normal. It means it's working. The friction is proof of change. Keep moving anyway. Keep showing up in alignment with your higher self, even when no one notices. Because every time you do, you're sending a signal to your subconscious. This is who I am now. Do it long enough, and the old identity will crumble under the weight of new evidence. The truth is, your future doesn't wait for you. It mirrors you. Life reflects your level of embodiment. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you're prepared to handle. And preparation isn't just planning, it's becoming. That's why you must live from your future, not for it. Think from it, speak from it, act from it. Because when you embody the future now, the universe has no choice but to catch up. Say this often. I think like the person I'm becoming. I speak like the person I'm becoming. I act like the person I'm becoming, until there's no separation left. That's the mantra of transformation. You stop waiting for the external to change and begin changing internally. And when the internal shifts, the external must follow. That's not wishful thinking. It's alignment in motion. You're not becoming your future self someday. You're becoming them today. Every decision, every thought, every action is a rehearsal for who you're becoming. So stop waiting for signs. Stop waiting for permission. Think, speak, and act like the person you want to become, until there's no gap left to close. Because the future doesn't belong to the dreamers. It belongs to the ones who embody their vision now. And the moment you decide to live from your higher identity, not torn it, is the moment your new reality begins. Becoming the person you want to be isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's choosing every day to think a little higher, to act a little braver, and to believe a little stronger in the version of yourself you're becoming. Remember, your thoughts shape your world. When you think with clarity, confidence, and purpose, life begins to respond in ways you never imagined. You attract better opportunities, you make wiser choices, and you move closer to the life that once felt out of reach. No one else can do the inner work for you. The power to grow, to change, and to rise, it's all within your control. So start today. Live with intention, speak with confidence, and most importantly, keep thinking like the person you want to become, until one day you simply are.